Hi Ricky, it's Mark here from Australia. Just thought I'd send you a little video. I know you've got a problem with your Betamax machine. I've had a similar problem, exactly the same, except in my case it wasn't the caps, it was actually, as per my little mail that I sent you, explaining it. It's to do with the guide height, or what's called the guide height, which is the tape path. This is my Beta Hi-Fi machine, not real good in the light, so I might so you can have a quick look. There we go, Beta Hi-Fi machine. I've got two of these actually. This one's perfect condition except the LEDs at the front, one of them is busted, but apart from that. And I've had no problem with it, but the only problem I did have was the same as you, where you would play a tape and the tracking would sort of like relock every so often. If it was a normal speed recording, it'd relock every couple of seconds. If it was a faster speed recording, it would relock more often. The problem I've got, you may have, is this. When the tape is threaded, I'll just stick a tape in. Some power would help, wouldn't it? There we go. Right. As you know, that's what's so good about these old Betamax machines. They're way ahead of VHS. The tape stays threaded the whole time. If I play it, there are a couple of areas that may be causing this problem. Every machine's different, of course. This one has a smaller transport because of the fact that it's a Beta Hi-Fi machine, but the principle's the same. You'll see here, focus, yeah, I'll have to come back a little bit, there we go. Here and here there are a couple of guides. There's one on the other side as well that threads the tape around. The tape passes through these guides, as you know. I'm sure you've seen your own machine. But if you find that the tape, let's come around the other side here. If you find that the tape, there it is passing through here and it's crinkling on the top edge or the bottom edge, that's called the guide height, and that's not correct. That means that this guide here, this little baby here, is actually crimping the top of the tape. And what happens is, when you record something, it records what's called non-standard. In other words, if you play back a tape that's recorded on the same machine and it's crimping the top of the tape, you'll get that effect that you've got on your tapes. Now, if you play a tape that was recorded on another Betamax machine and you put it in, that's why the retracking doesn't look quite as bad the first time you play it, because it's actually, the tape isn't crimped at that point. It's crimping as it's playing through. So you might find that if you play the tape that was recorded on another machine and play it back again, the second time, it might look even worse. But that's the only thing I suggest, that you check that there's no crimping on any of these guides where the tape passes through. And needless to say, as I'm sure you would know from cassettes, it's the same deal. Just make sure that there's no gunk at either end here where the tape actually lifts away from the rotating heads. That's where the problems usually arise, right on the very edge where the tape lifts off. Just make sure there's nothing at the bottom of the guide. There's one other thing, Ricky, I forgot to mention. You might ask, well, how do I set the guide height so that it's technically correct? Because obviously if you're playing a tape that's recorded non-standard, it's not a correct recording, it's not a reference recording. The only way you can really do that, because none of us can afford the alignment tapes that used to be produced for these machines, because they were very expensive and precisely done. Your best bet would be to try and get a hold of a pre-recorded, good condition Betamax tape, perhaps one that used to be a higher tape that was made by a professional company, with a movie on it or something like that. Use that as the reference, because it'll probably be recorded on a higher standard machine. Play that through and then adjust your guide height at the top until that relocking and that retracking on the screen stops, and you'll find that it will be okay after that. Mind you, all of this is provided that that's the problem. There could well be the caps as well, as discussed earlier by other people, which I actually agree with. But if it's mechanical or alignment, it'll be to do with the guide heights. I hope that helps, right?